Tonight on Frontline, America's retirement crisis.
It's tough to really worry about retirement right now. I guess plan B would be to keep working.
My retirement plan is fingers crossed and pray, basically.
Even if you have a 401k or IRA, will you have the money you need to retire?
If you make $100,000 a year, you need $1.5 million to be okay.
A lot of 401k programs are lousy.
You put up 100% of the capital, you take 100% of the risk, and you get 30% of the return.
Correspondent Martin Smith investigates.
Make it simple.
That's a question that can only be answered on what your risk appetite is. If you don't want
making it simple.
Well, I wish it was simpler.
If you want to gamble with your retirement money, be my guest.
Tonight on Frontline, the retirement gamble.
The 401k is one of the only products that Americans buy that they don't know the price of it. It's also one of the products that Americans buy that they don't even know its quality. It's one of the products that Americans buy that they don't know its danger. And it's because the industry, the mutual fund industry, have been able to protect themselves against regulation that would expose the danger and price of their products.
The effects of the current economic crisis have touched everyone. Even if you still have a good job and a paid-up mortgage, chances are your monthly 401k statement will remind you that you've lost a good chunk of your savings. Trillions of dollars have evaporated from those accounts that have become the prime source of retirement funds for a majority of American workers, affecting their psyche and their future. If you're still young enough, there's time to rebuild and recover. But if you're in your 50s or 60s or beyond, the consequences can be dire. And it's drawing attention to the shortcomings of a retirement system that's jeopardized the financial security of tens of millions of people.
The fact is that the typical 401k investor is a financial novice. They don't know a stock from a bond. And we give them a list of 20 or 30 mutual funds with really, really powerful names. You know, they sound like, gee, that's where I want to have my money.
What are generally the quality of the mutual funds and 401k plans?
Mediocre. I'm going to be real honest with you. With half the funds on the list, really dogs, what people would characterize as dogs, shouldn't be on the list to start with.
There clearly has been a raid on these funds by the people of Wall Street, and it's cost the savers and the future retirees a lot of money that would otherwise be in their account, independent of the financial collapse.
Representative George Miller of California is chairman of the House Committee on Education and Labor and a staunch critic of the 401k industry, especially its practice of deducting more than a dozen undisclosed fees from its clients' 401k accounts.
Now you got a bunch of economic wizards jumping in and taking money out of your retirement plan, and they don't want to tell you how much. You can't decipher it in simple English, and they're not interested in disclosing it or having any transparency about it.
And most of the people that look at their 401ks have no idea that these fees are being taken out.
No. Where would you find it? Where would you find these fees in this prospectus? You can look on any page you want, and when you're all done reading, and you will find some of the fees and the commissions here, but you won't find them all, and I bet you won't find half of them.
There are legal fees, trustee fees, transactional fees, stewardship fees, bookkeeping fees, finder's fees, and the list goes on and on. Miller's committee has heard testimony that they can eat up half the income in some 401k plans over a 30-year span, but he has not been able to stop it.
We tried to just put in some disclosure and transparency in these fees, and we felt the full fury of that financial lobbying.
David Ray, a lobbyist for the 401k industry, says he favors disclosing the fees, but his partners in the financial industry don't. You think most people know these fees exist?
I think they know that there are fees. They don't know exactly how large they are.
Why do you think the financial services industry is opposed to fee transparency?
I don't know that they're opposed to it. I think the issue is...
You don't think they're opposed to it?
Well, they want to keep...
You're a lobbyist in Washington, right? You know they're opposed to it. George Miller hasn't been able to get a bill to the floor.
I think they want to keep the systems as simple and not make changes. They like the way things are, and whenever you push people out of their comfort zones, you know, it's an issue.
I mean, they're comfortable with the situation because they're making a ton of money, or they have made a ton of money.
With us now to unveil this week's new issue of Time magazine, Time's managing editor,
Richard Stengel. Rick, what are we looking at this week?
Well, we're looking at a subject that is bothering millions and millions of Americans, 70 million Americans to be exact. It is the problem of 401ks and why we need to retire the 401k and why it's not working for millions of Americans.
Yeah. So what do we do instead?
Well, what we propose instead is a insurance pension plan, where instead of paying that money into a 401k, you pay it into an insurance plan that guarantees you a pension. Well, what we propose instead is a insurance pension plan, where instead of paying that money into a 401k, you pay it into an insurance plan that guarantees you a pension.
And that seems fair. I mean, the problem with the people who have lost all their money in their 401ks is 401k, isn't it supposed to be what you have when you retire? Why would you put money, 6% of your salary, into something that is a risk?
Well, it's a risk, and then it's also something where you deplete it. I mean, it's basically a bunch of cash that you have when you retire, and you're supposed to take out 4 or 5% a year. I mean,
and everyone
depends on how you.
It's the smart thing to do.
It was for a long time. There's a whole business. I'm not sure it was. I mean, it's not even 30 years old, right? So you have a whole class of people who have grown up, these investment advisors who take this thing and are telling you to do something that nobody has tested or not. It's like a vaccine that they haven't really tested and they don't know what the long-term influence.
Let's switch gears to another way to eliminate huge taxes. Life insurance. Just so you know, I say it on every program, I do not sell life insurance. I don't sell stocks, bonds, funds, annuities. I'm a tax advisor and an educator. And as a tax advisor, I'm advising you to take advantage of the single biggest benefit in the tax code, and that is the tax exemption for life insurance. You've heard me talk about the incredible leverage and tax-free benefits of life insurance, all tax-free. It's truly the best tax leverage available under the tax code. In these volatile and uncertain times, you need to focus on investments that give you control, options, flexibility, and certainty. And you want to remove both stock market risk and tax risk. And you want a guarantee. And you want it all tax-free. You can get all of that with certain kinds of permanent life insurance. But what if I told you that you could have tax-free access to your life insurance during your lifetime, so you could use it for yourself? You could begin moving large amounts of money from taxable accounts into a tax-free permanent life insurance policy. The money grows tax-free inside the policy. You don't have to if those gains are earned within a life insurance policy. If your money's going to grow, it may as well grow tax-free, right? You need to realize that life insurance is an investment, but it's better than your typical investment accounts because it's tax-free. Oh, and one more thing. Life insurance comes with something else that you can never get from the stock market: a guarantee. Believe it or not, this is an area where you might want to invest the maximum you can into the policy. If you're approaching retirement or already retired and looking to shelter more of your taxable money into a tax-free vehicle, this might be the place for you. But the mistake most people make at this stage of life is trying to pay the least for the policy. So you might be thinking, how can paying less be a mistake? Everybody wants a good deal. Because this is an investment, not an expense. If you were saving money in a bank account, would you want to put in the most or the least? Of course you want to put in the most, because this is your savings. You should look at permanent life insurance the same way, except that the investment is tax-free. So why would you keep money growing in a taxable account when it can be transferred to a tax-free investment? If you have taxable IRA funds, you can, in effect, convert your IRA to life insurance, paying tax now at low rates on distributions from your IRA, and then using that money to fund your life insurance investment. That accomplishes two things. You reduce your future tax exposure in your IRA by taking distributions now, and you build up a tax-free source of retirement funds should you need them. If it turns out that you don't need to tap into your life insurance for retirement income, then the life insurance benefit builds for your family. Also income tax-free. And for most people, this is truly the best leverage available, and it's all under your control. Once again, I do not sell life insurance, but as a tax advisor, I gotta tell you that the tax exemption for life insurance is the single biggest benefit in the tax code. Make it a part of your retirement savings plan and your estate plan. But remember, this area of your life is a little tricky. You must do it the right way to receive all the benefits I'm telling you about. Now is the time to create a plan to rescue your retirement and move your money from accounts that are forever taxed to accounts that are never taxed.